This is an ad for Roundup for Lawns. It kills weeds down to the root without harming your lawn. It works on crabgrass, dandelions, clover. It works on weeds with names you can't even pronounce. It's Roundup for Lawns. When used as directed, always read and follow pesticide label directions.
Empire.
Welcome to the latest edition of All's Caps. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alsner and Sammi Silber from Washington Hockey Now. Thank you very much for joining us, a listener. And Sammi was saying that to us earlier, have I met Karl before? You met Karl when before?
Oh, yeah. I was, I think I was like 9 or 10. But I told, I keep in touch with my mom every day. So I told her, I'm going to be on this podcast. She's like, tell Karl. Because apparently she knows you, first name Karl. She's like, tell Karl about the time you went to the season ticket holder party when you were young, and we got tickets from my boss. You remember? I'm like, I don't remember anybody's name. She's like, yeah, but we met him. He was so nice. Tell him on the show. And I'm like,
that's hilarious. Karl is nice. I wasn't.
No, he's.
You were 9 years old?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
That's amazing. I was little. It was at the Six Flags, and everybody was like, yeah. And I remember saying to myself, this is the closest I'll ever probably be to a Caps player in my life. Well,
and now you're a guest on All's Caps. This is your first full season covering the team. Unfortunately, you don't have Karl to cover on this team. But what has it been like? I mean, I know it's different when it was the Zoom stuff and it's not in the locker rooms. But what has it been like covering an NHL team full time?
Yeah, no, it's been. I mean, first of all, it's an absolute blessing and honor to, get to do what we do. But it's a really cool experience, It's like waking up and having something to look forward to every day, but just getting to know the team that also, your hometown team. You grew up here and, you used to watch them, from way, back home on the TV. Not way back home, we're 20 minutes down the road. But, you know what I mean? But, it feels further away. They have those high cameras. But, no, I mean, it's wonderful, and to get to know the guys and, shoot the breeze and that kind of stuff, and, also get to work with some of my favorite reporters. I mean, I've read...
And then there's also me. Your favorite reporters and also me.
No, yeah, but, reading and, getting to learn every day and walk in and just feel it all and, just getting to be at the rink, too. Yeah. I mean, it's a sport that we all love, and it's so... I don't know. I mean, it comes naturally at this point. Anything hockey, it's all, I think about all the time, so... Yeah. It's awesome to cover.
Is it cool because you grew up liking the Caps and watching them? The fact that you are writing some of the stories, whether they're good or maybe a little harder on the team, does it feel weird when you have to critique a little bit more?
Yeah, no, it does, because sometimes younger me wanting to. I think when you get older, your mindset changes, your view on life and perspective shifts with each year, I'm talking I'm 50 years old. I'm actually 24, but we're almost at the quarter century crisis. Nah, yes. I kid though, but no, it's interesting though, because it's your duty as a journalist, but at the same time you also have to, you're oh my goodness, it's my hometown team, but also you do realize that there are ebbs and flows, and as a reporter, I mean, I don't lace them up with the Capitals, but you go through those motions together, so it is very interesting to cover. But no, I mean, internal me sometimes is we're staying positive, and I'm dude, it's 4-1.
Yeah, exactly.
There's 6 minutes left in the third. Let's chill.
I have that issue just when we're talking or if I'm doing anything on the radio, it's I don't want to be negative, because I like these guys, and I know what it's like to, to have some of the stories come out, and you're just there's so much more I'd like to explain about what happened, and then I think everyone would understand. So it's hard sometimes to, like you said, you're a journalist and you want to write something so that the fans can see it, but at the same time you also want to protect people, and you like the team and you like the guys, and I couldn't imagine having to do it professionally.
So you're dealing with this now, and Tarek and I were just talking about a different story where he's sometimes you have to almost the information you can't share it all. Yeah. I'm sure you, being buddies with these guys, there's stuff that you don't want to say publicly. There's things we know that it's kind of off the record, so you have to write as if you know everything, but you can't write everything you know.
Yeah, imagine. That's you always want to be the one to break the news, right? But at the same time, you break it one time and it wasn't supposed to be broken, and
then people are pissed at you.
You've broke your
Trust
relationship.
me.
You
Yes.
know, like that's not what you want to do. So it's a balance. I couldn't imagine having to deal with it all the time. I'm lucky I can just be on the outside sometimes.
So you never sleep. You're always tired. You work 2 jobs. You work Peacock as well, and this. How is it energy drinks? You're not a coffee person, right? Like, how do you do this? Because I wrote the book and this podcast now and the regular job, and I'm tired all the time. But I can't imagine how tired you are.
Yeah, no, I'm in grad school too, so
You're doing everything.
we're yeah, no, I know. I guess I'm just like I don't know. I mean, no, I don't really sleep. And every time I talk to you, you're like, how are you? I'm like, my casual response to go to, because I'm such like a kind of like awkward but flowing, bebopping around kind of person, I'll just be like, oh, I'm tired. And people, and then of course, like, it brings on like, you're always tired, or why are you tired? I'm like, oh, I wasn't in for more questions. I was just getting like the.
We'd get you the Post Malone test.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That'd
no.
be perfect.
Yeah, no, but no, I mean, I don't.
You don't sleep. Yeah.
It's awful. I mean, I was actually like talking to, I'll shout out my mom again. I won't make this whole podcast about her, but
it can be. That's
fine.
No,
no, but like I talk to her all the time. We'll be on the phone sometimes till like 2:00 in the morning, just because I lose track of time because I have no internal like clock. So no, I mean I live off. It's awful. You're gonna be so disappointed. I drink through like 6 bottles of soda a day.
Seriously?
Yeah, I think I go through like a 6-pack a day.
What's your soda of choice? Or unless this is one of Carl's questions. But no, what's your soda
No,
of choice?
okay, so it used to be, I went through phases. So it used to be like Diet Pepsi, and now I'm like, nah, like we're not doing that anymore. Like we're gonna do Cherry Coke. And now it's like Sprite. Now it's like, whatever has caffeine is on sale at the Giant and gets me out of the store fast enough.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, but Sprite doesn't have caffeine, so then you have
That's
to
what I mean.
balance it
Yeah.
with another drink. So then I'm going through even more soda.
Yeah.
And then, on top of it, you have Excedrin, which this is becoming like a whole commercial.
Yeah, no, this is not an ad for Excedrin or energy drinks
This is
or
not an ad.
Sprite or anything like
Yeah.
that.
You don't like the taste of coffee? Is that what it is?
It's not that I don't like the taste. I was telling Wino not too long ago, I used to drink it all the time in like high school, and then one of my friends was like, here, I made this special, and I had like 7 shots of espresso in it.
Yeah.
And my heart was like going.
Yeah.
And one of my teachers was like, are you okay? And I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, I'm not now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so that was the last time I really had coffee. But I have a puppy, so sometimes I'll go to Starbucks and like pick up like a frappuccino, cappuccino,
Yeah.
whatever drinks they
Yeah,
have there,
whatever else they have,
But and she'll get the whipped cream, like
I think the puppuccino.
yeah.
That's
Make a
amazing.
scene at the store, knock things over. It's great.
Do your dogs like that stuff?
They don't. I don't. Well, we don't really let the big one come in the car anymore because if we do, it's so hairy. Like I just can't stand. Like you have the window open, there's just like a snow globe of dog hair. It's just that's a no. We don't do that anymore. The little ones they do, but they can only have the whipped cream because they have so few teeth that they can't chew anything anymore. So we get into that sometimes, but not too often. We try not to spoil them. Otherwise, they expect it too much.
Your dog is spoiled.
She's
What kind of dog is it?
She's a German Shepherd Terrier. So
Oh, sweet.
she looks like a shepherd, but she's like the size of a terrier.
Really?
It's kind of hysterical because she thinks she's like this big dog, but she's
Amazing.
not. She's like tiny, but she's a sweetheart. She is spoiled.
And she said she hides things from
She
you?
hides things. Like she hid. Like we have these like dog toys, but like she's like a really tough chewer.
Okay.
She's like chewed. I'm on like my 3rd couch now. I kid you not. So like. She has this toy, and, like, I can't find it.
Yeah.
And then the other day, like, I was, like, cleaning my apartment, which, rare. But I cleaned it, and, like, I found, like, a ton of my, like, old, like, shirts, like, things, like, I needed, and she's, like, hiding them around the apartment. And she, like, opens doors, too. Like, she made it to
Oh,
the lobby.
that's a new trick. You don't want that.
No, she, like, opens the door. She, like, made it to the lobby. Like, she pressed the elevator and, like, gone in with
on.
another family. And I'm like...
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm like, dude...
These shepherds, they're smart, dog.
I know.
Really, really smart. There was a guy that, I can't remember, I think he played in Dallas. He had a shepherd that was trained to walk his kids to school. So you just like leave the door with the kids, walk them there, make sure they went into school, turn around and would walk back every day. I'm like, that's unbelievable. I'm already thinking about getting a drug sniffing dog for my kids. So if they have any friends that come over that are shady, then send the dog after them just to make sure. Those shepherds are so smart.
No, they
It's
are.
insane.
I don't know how she did. if I got called and they're like, your dog is like chilling out in the lobby with like another family. I'm like,
at least it's just chilling out and it's not going crazy, right? Like
yeah.
That's a bonus at least.
They're like, what do you want us to do? I'm like, oh, I don't know. Let her hang around, give her a donut. I'm like, wait, what do you want?
That's amazing.
But yeah, so.
You play hockey as well. So your style of hockey, is it more like Karl Alsner? Is it more like Daniel Sprong? Where are you on what position you play? Where is your hockey playing style comparison here?
I'm bad at hockey, but I started playing in college because like I needed a break because I never sleep. So I'm like, why don't I just add a sport into the mix if I'm not going to sleep anyway? There's only so many levels of Angry Birds, so you need to do other stuff, you know. So like. So no, I mean, yeah, so I play, and I actually start like a new league on Saturday, but I'm playing forward, but, you know, I'm kind of like, you know, the pest, you know, I'm all talk though, like if somebody comes close to me, I'm like, you know,
That's amazing.
I'm sure Karl knows a few players like that.
Yeah.
We're all talking, no action.
Yeah, no, it's like they come close, I'm like, I was like April Fools, or like it's March, I'm like, no.
That's hilarious.
But no, I mean, if I had a comparable... My friend Jason Rogers, you probably know him too, bless his heart. He calls me Big Rig.
Big Rig?
So I'm going to say,
oh, really?
Yeah, so, you know, but I'm not as good as Patrick Maroon, I would rate myself around there.
Kind of that style?
Yeah. No,
That's
I
sweet.
mean, it's...
So you play Saturdays, there's a league here Saturdays?
Yeah,
Okay,
at
sweet.
nights. It's fun. It's like a beginner's league, but I don't know. I mean, I have aspirations to be Karl Alsner, though, so we will see.
If not on the ice, then certainly as a podcast host at some point.
Yeah, no, probably more as the podcast host because I can't skate backwards that well.
Fair enough. When we come back on All's Caps, we'll actually talk about the Capitals a little bit. Go from Sammy's hockey to Capitals on the ice. 4-0-1 in the last 5 games. We'll be right back on All's Caps.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. With LinkedIn becoming #1 in B2B display advertising in the US, you've got a great advantage. With their tools, you can stand out against your competitors while nurturing customer relationships and growing your brand. So scale your marketing and grow your business with LinkedIn advertising. As a thank you to their customers for helping them grow 3 times faster than the competition, LinkedIn is offering a $100 credit on your next campaign. Just go to linkedin.com/marketing.
This episode is brought to you by Seventh Generation, New York. Did you know that climate pollution costs the state $27.5 billion every year? That isn't some national number, but a direct impact on your well-being. Climate pollution impacts all of us, our health, our communities, and our livelihoods. But it's not too late to change course. As you hear this, a $15 billion investment sits on the table of Albany's legislators. This is an opportunity to transition New York into a regenerative economy and invest in you, in us. It's vital help for communities hit hardest, with improvements in infrastructure and a more stable grid. It's a commitment to a future-fit labor force with job retraining and greater benefits. And it's money back in your pockets through lower energy costs and direct support for low to moderate income households. Tell Albany today. Invest in New York. Invest in us for future generations. To find out more, visit seventhgeneration.com/climate.
Welcome back to All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alsner and Sammi Silber from Washington Hockey Now. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino, and this is ostensibly a Capitals podcast, so I guess we should talk about the Washington Capitals. Things were bad there for a while. Things are better now. They go 2-1 on the West Coast trip. Alex Ovechkin's on this verge of a milestone. We were just talking to Peter Laviolette and Tom Wilson and Nicholas Backstrom about it. What have you seen differently from this team in the last little stretch, really since March started?
Yeah, I mean, what I've seen is more consistency. I've seen less of, at times during the tough, I think, 2 months maybe we should call it now. I lose track of time, but that's okay.
I was in Beijing for 3 weeks, so none of that happened
saying,
to me.
like, this guy, No, I mean, I think we've seen more consistency, right? I think we've seen less of the trading off periods, taking one period off or having a slow start and then chasing the game, as Laviolette always talks about.
Yeah.
I think you've seen, more drive. I think we're finally seeing the identity that McClellan was talking about in the middle six, like finally starting to see those pieces come together. I've liked what I've seen from Anthony Mantha. I think he's looked really good over the last couple games on that second line as well.
It makes the whole lineup fit together, right? Like Mantha in that spot makes everybody else fit better.
Of course,
I think.
No, it brings the puzzle together, and then you have, AJF going on with Dowden Hathaway, and clicking pretty well there. So
Yeah.
I think they're getting those pieces and using them.
I want to give you credit, Carl, because you at one point, even like recently, you were like, "There's still kind of that lull in the season." And I was way past that. I thought like, "Oh no, I mean the lull is over. Now it's just bad." But you were right. Like there was a lull in the season.
Yeah.
Guys got healthy, and all of a sudden, this is what we're seeing.
Yeah, it's like everyone starts to become a little more consistent now because this is an important time. It's not just we'll play next game, we'll be better next game, and just kind of brush it off. But now you start to see, as soon as you hear a team is creeping up on you in the standings, and it goes
Sure.
from being super comfortable to being like, we actually need to do something now. Then you start playing a little bit better, right? Like even though these guys are professionals and they're supposed to be on all the time, they choose which ones they're on more than times that they want to take days off. So they wanted to maybe let their minds wander a little bit. And this is the point of the season where they start to figure out crunch time. The management wants to know what we want to do. Are we going to bring somebody in, or are we just going to start riding off into the sunset? So yeah, it is a real thing. It's a lull, just like how we have it right after Christmas and New Year's.
Sure.
Where we just want to not do anything, and it happens in sports too.
When Brian McClellan said his whole thing about like, I don't want to be as aggressive at the trade deadline, maybe because usually I feel like I can make a run. I'm curious first, Sammy, if you thought that was a motivator to the team as much as maybe it seemed like at the time, and also Carl as a player, when you hear that stuff, does it motivate you? If you have your general manager saying, yeah, well, maybe he won't be aggressive, we don't think he can make this run, was that a psychological thing at the time?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely had an impact one way or another, right? I think he is, McCollum, from what I've experienced with him as a reporter, is he says what's on his mind.
Yes.
And so when you have somebody who, is transparent and says that, I think it can spark some kind of message. I'm not in a player's shoes again. Like, I will never be good enough to lace them up for a protein, but like...
Never say never.
Yeah.
But
No, with the soda I drink, we're past. We can say never. No, but I mean, I think, I'm not sure of how much, the players do read or do hear, but I'm sure that there was something there. I mean, and it definitely is a motivating force when you hear, we're not going to be aggressive at the deadline, maybe that says, you know what? If we're not going to do that, then we're all just going to come together, and this is the group that we have.
Yeah.
This is our identity. This is our time now.
Yeah.
Let's get it going.
Yeah, well, as a team, like if realistically if you're competitive or not, right?
Right. Yeah.
And you may, it's like one of those things where until someone tells you, you might think you're doing something good, and then finally it's like, oh shoot, I'm not. Like I thought I was fine, or it's like yeah, I don't weigh 10 pounds more than I do, and then you step on the scale, like okay, I do. You need that reality check sometimes, and so when it comes to this, it's like. You think you're going to be okay, and you're always excited, like who are we going to pick up? And, like I remember we picked up Shattenkirk. I was like,
Yep.
Sweet, like I've been waiting for this, and then now I know for sure we're picking up Shaddy, and it just gives you like a bit of a different life. And so if you're expecting, as the deadline's approaching, like I'm going to get somebody, I'm going to get a goalie, I'm going to get a depth forward, whatever, and then all of a sudden your GM says it might not happen. That's kind of like, are we really not that good? Like, let's find out. Let's see if we can bring it back to that level. So, there is a little bit, whether or not you say it out loud to the guys, you may be thinking it, and that even just a little tweak in your mental side of the game can turn you into a better player.
that Shattenkirk trade didn't work out so well.
Didn't work out so good, but I mean that was that should have. I mean, I don't know what exactly happened, but I remember like Shaddy he was on the 5-on-3 because he's a big time power play guy. And I remember he was hitting posts and missing empty nets and just not what Shaddy is. It was one of those things that was just strange, and I think over a period of time it probably would have worked out. But he also went through a bit of a couple year period where things were a bit tough, and who knows if it was coming here and it was a bit of a mental drain the way things ended. But it happens. But I mean the trade itself, like that was a huge trade. We were all.
I remember.
Very
Zach
fired
Sanford
up
in
for
at
it.
first.
Yes.
And that was Matt going all in. A week after he said, no, I'm not going to go all in. And then he pulls the trigger like that. Which is why, yes, I do believe he says what he means at the time, but it might not always be what he means later.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't know what's out there until you start asking those questions.
Right.
And then maybe all of a sudden someone calls you and it's like, hey, this person is on the table. And then you have to switch. Like you can't take everything as gospel. Like they try to give you as much information as possible so that, it's not a huge surprise. But that info changes, like, especially coming up to the deadline, every half hour, every hour. So it is what it is.
This is one of our last episodes before the trade deadline, and I'm going to say something that's going to sound crazy to anyone who's been listening. I don't think they need to go out and get a big-time goalie. I really don't. But I envision, Craig Anderson's the guy I think they're going to trade for. And that's where, like, look how good he looked in that Heritage Classic game against the Leafs. The goalies here know him. It's not going to cost you a whole lot to get him. Your thoughts from seeing Craig Anderson here a little bit last year, knowing Craig, your thoughts on and maybe a Craig Anderson, or does this team roll with Vitek Vanacek and kind of take your chances?
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely watching over the last couple of weeks, I'm agreeing with you full-heartedly. Earlier on, I was a person who was a bit of a believer in, okay, like, the Caps need to go out and acquire
I thought so.
a big-name goalie. Like, it's just not working right now. You know, there's two young guys. Vitek, though, has looked absolutely phenomenal over this last stretch. He has been stellar, especially at even strength. I think he's maybe top 3, top 4 goaltenders with 15 games played. Not to get all natural stat check here, but
you're right.
But yeah, I mean, so his numbers have been great, and I think he's showing that he can do it on a consistent basis, which I think was the biggest question. You know, we have McClellan called them 2 young, inexperienced goaltenders, right? Mm-hmm. And you have to, I think it just takes consistency. You know, there's a difference between going into a rhythm for a bit and then being a consistent performer. I think Vanacek has shown that he can be the consistent performer. I think Samsonov is a guy who gets into rhythms and then has some lulls and then gets back into rhythms, and then there's an issue there, right? Yeah. So I think now with Anderson, I love that option. Like you said, they know him. You know, he was here last year. He has a great attitude, you know, from everything I've heard. Good presence to have around. Veteran guy. Can mentor 2 young, inexperienced goaltenders.
And can play.
And can play.
And just a gut feel just a gut feel from over here.
Yeah. It's a tough position to come in and just, you know, and fill a game, you know, and do something and just give the other guys a break. It's a very hard position. And then, these 2 young guys going back and forth, trying to establish their own rhythm, it's hard, and constantly being in a battle, knowing that, you know, I need to be good today, because if I'm not, the other guy gets to come in, and then maybe he's going to take that is a complete, you know, head job. You're not going to be able to stay straight there. And so I've always thought this, and I never really wanted to say it because I thought I was the only one, but I always liked Vitek's game maybe a little bit more. I felt more comfortable watching him, but everyone was always saying Samsonov's a guy, and that was me thinking, you know, I've never seen them enough to know, but like you said, he seems like the consistent guy, the one that you're gonna feel good being in the net. Not saying Samsonov can't be that guy, but that's my feel for it right now. And yeah, you might be right that maybe a goalie is not needed now.
I think a middle 6 forward is more needed for this team right now, because you see Lars Eller goes into protocol and gets stuck in Vancouver, and all of a sudden you got to shift Connor McMichael to the middle. And no offense to Connor McMichael, but he's not a center in the NHL yet. And Brian McClellan said this. He might grow into being an NHL center, but to have other guys, maybe an Andrew Cogliano type, somebody like that as a middle 6 forward, I think that is, if there's one item on your shopping list, I think that would be it. Oh, right?
For sure.
Based on what Brian McClellan has said, is I think that's a part of this, that you don't really want Daniel Sprong playing on your third line, and if you can, Peter Laviolette's a big fan of other people, not Daniel Sprong. He's a big fan of Vitek Vanacek, though, because when you said watching his game, Peter Laviolette and Scott Murray watch his game, and they love everything he does.
Yeah, and that's what you want. You want everybody to love what you do, and then you have more backers, and they give you a little bit more confidence. So, fun fact about Andrew Cogliano, flat feet, completely flat feet. Very interesting. Very hard to get into a skate with flat feet, I would assume.
Did you play with Cogliano?
I did, yeah. Yeah, and he would be a great guy to have, because he's a hilarious guy. He's very fast. He'd be a nice addition for sure, because you want to have those surprise speed guys on the ice if you can, especially in the playoffs. You need to relieve pressure out of the zone and just throw a puck out. You know, like a Carl Hagelin. Sure. Someone that can finish occasionally on those opportunities as well. Like those guys are really nice to have, and they can completely change the way that you play the game. You want to have tight gaps, you want to be pressure all the time. You have someone with speed like that can find holes. You don't have those gaps anymore. So it'd be someone like that would be nice.
And he's a great talker. So we will take all the great talkers we can in the Capitals room, since we don't have Carl anymore, we don't have Matt Hendricks anymore. So we could take all the great talkers we can get. When we come back on All's Caps, Sammy's going to be the latest victim of Carl's stupid questions.
Stories like Turning Red. On Hulu, watch originals like The Dropout. And on ESPN Plus, score big with Big Papi's Places. Get more of what you love with the Disney Bundle for only $13.99.
This episode is brought to you by Jackson Hewitt. This year, there's more at stake with your taxes than ever. Thousands more. New tax credits could mean a bigger refund. And Jackson Hewitt Tax Pros are here to help you track down every last credit. Credits for having a baby, going back to school, caring for a parent, and even becoming self-employed. Get credit for all you do, and you could discover thousands of dollars in new tax credits. Schedule an appointment with a tax pro and learn more at jacksonhewitt.com.
Welcome back to All's Caps. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alzner and Sammi Silber from Washington Hockey Now, who is now going to be our next guest on Karl's Stupid Questions.
Yes, this is great since you kind of know how the game works. You've listened to it, so you've heard probably most of these questions. So hopefully you have some answers for me. Okay, first one is what would you choose, to be able to sing, dance, or play music, or do you already do one of those really well?
Oh, I don't do any of those well. I think, honestly, play music. I think so, yeah. I mean, sometimes I hear myself talk and I'm like, oh dear. And then I see myself move and I'm like, oh dear. I'm like, no, let's just go with play music.
That's hilarious.
Well, any particular instrument?
Oh, man.
I feel like everything stems from the piano. Like,
Right?
If you play the piano, you can kind of pick up a lot of things.
Piano's cool. I've always wanted to be like a drummer, you know?
Yeah.
Whiplash is an incredible movie. I wouldn't want to have the same story arc because Whiplash gets like dark. But no, yeah.
That would be it.
So a drummer, I think so. Yeah.
I just followed an account on Instagram. The guy plays piano, and he has like a cheat code for piano. Like it says, if you want to fake being a good piano player, all you need to do is these few notes. And I'm like, I just saw it yesterday, so I'm gonna start practicing
try that?
today. Yeah.
It's also a great, that's a baller move though, of like being like in a hotel lobby at an event, and all of a sudden you can play the piano and everyone's gathered around you.
Yeah.
Dave Sheinin in the Washington Post is a piano player.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
Really?
He put an album out too. Like
Seriously?
he can sing and do an album. We'll have to have him on at some point to talk music, but just the entertainment factor of being able to play a piano.
I played with a guy, Matthew Pekka. We were in Montreal. He's the same thing. He got onto a piano at a hotel and just started playing, and we're all like, what the heck is going on? Like, someone of many talents, but very jealous.
See, I used to actually, like, when I was in 4th grade, we had to, like, choose if we would do band. I wanted to play the saxophone because I went through a phase where I was like, I'm going to be a jazz musician.
Yeah.
My mom was like, yeah, like, good luck. And so we like, couldn't afford the saxophone, so I got a clarinet. But I never practiced, so I just, like, pretended to play. And my band teacher came up to me after a recital. His name was Phil Collins, which is pretty neat.
Come on.
But he was like, you were wonderful. I was like,
Good actor.
He was like, you were very good. I'm like, I know. So yeah, I'm gonna say play music.
Okay.
But yeah.
Good. Okay, number 2 is I like this last time when we asked it. What do you think is the ugliest fruit or vegetable? Come to mind. And I will still ask if anybody's went and looked at a sumo orange yet, because
I googled sumo orange last time you asked this, and they're ugly.
Yes, it's super ugly.
See, I hate healthy food, so I think a lot of them are ugly. If I had to go like ugly, see, I like fruit, so I'll leave fruit out of it.
Okay.
I don't know
what.
what.
On the bad side of fruit.
Now I have to Google. Now I just have Googling that on my agenda for today.
Yes.
It's good. I cleared my whole schedule for today. So
There
it's
you
good.
go.
Just so you can Google sumo oranges.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Nothing else going.
Yeah. The other
Dang.
answer we had was ginger, which is not technically.
It's a spice.
Yes.
I've never seen ginger, but I know Holtby hates ginger.
Really?
Yeah, he like went on a rant. I was like asking about like players' foods, and he's like, I don't like ginger. I
Really?
don't like it. I was like, okay.
Weird.
I was.
Something you don't know about Braden Holtby.
Yeah.
Look, Braden could be here next week for all we know too,
Yes.
instead of Craig
That's
Anderson.
true.
You know what? I'll just keep it like cliche. Well, not even cliche. I think cauliflower is ugly.
Yeah.
Imposter broccoli.
Imposter.
Showing up. I mean, broccoli's not even good looking to begin with. So that's like your.
Yeah, you're shooting low.
Yeah, no, you're shooting low. Like your ceiling is low already.
Yeah, mimic something a little nicer, right?
My sister likes it too, and my sister is like meh. So like, oh yeah, cauliflower.
Good choice. Do you have a dream interview? Someone you'd love to sit down and chat with, like a nice one-on-one, and pick their brain. It doesn't have to be hockey related. It could be
Karl
anything. That one I can actually set up.
No, you're the man. Dream. So it doesn't have to be hockey.
No.
Man.
It can be hockey.
It can be, yeah.
It can be hockey.
And like you get like a good scoop too, not like just like standard stuff. Like they're willing to like open up.
Do they need to be alive?
No, they don't have to be.
Oh, yeah. That's me. Time traveling. Dang.
I think mine would be Tiger Woods.
Oh, that'd be
I'd
a
love
cool
to
one.
See, that's actually wouldn't be that hard to set up either.
Yeah, you probably talk to him,
Yeah.
but I want him to like spill the beans, you know.
Yeah.
What did it say now? The T? Is that what the everyone's trying to teach me all these funny words now that keep me up to date. Someone says I think it's the T. I don't know. Anyways,
I definitely
next
want.
that.
I definitely want to talk to Gordie Howe. I
Oh
think.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Hockey.
That would be sweet.
No.
Ask about Alex and when he gets past.
It just,
Year and a half?
I don't know. It's just like the comparisons between like the greatest hockey player of all time. I'll always consider it to be Gordie Howe.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever I talk to, just because I love his all-around game and everything that he brings to the table.
Right.
I mean, not just scoring ability, but I also think like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was like cut by the Rangers when he was like just starting.
Oh really? I mean, I don't know.
And then.
If so, you're teaching us some things now.
So they probably know.
You're
But
teaching us about Brayden Holtby and Gordie Howe. So this is what we're doing on All
Please
Caps
don't
today.
take lessons from me. But
That's something
no,
you said though, like
I
an
think
all-around player. Like
yeah,
that,
no.
I think that needs to, like I love the Selke because I think that is it's a good award. It's something that I think you can hang your hat on, but they don't really have that for defensemen for the most part.
We've talked about this, by the way, as like writers. We've talked about doing like a defensive defenseman award, which would be fine.
Yeah.
You could call it the Rod Langway, or whatever. Call it the
be-
Carl Alzner, right?
It would be the thing is it'd be hard to. It's kind of hard to do one like that because a lot of times those guys you don't really notice.
I would have players voting on it.
Yes, yeah.
Rather than us voting on it, I would have every forward in the league vote on
Yeah.
who's the hardest
I
defenseman.
like that.
Because Jacob Slavin right now to me is the best defensive defenseman in hockey.
Yeah.
Right, like for everything he does, killing penalties 5-on-5, he hardly takes any penalties himself.
Yeah.
That's the award for me.
Yeah, that would be huge. I always thought that like Drew Doughty never really had many Norris considerations, but I always thought he was the best of those guys defensively. You know, Weber also was.
Oh yeah.
But like I thought Drew's game all around was so solid, especially like in his mid-20s. Like it was insane. Like he's probably always the best defenseman on those Olympic teams. Like all around, in my opinion. And I never got enough credit for it because his numbers maybe weren't quite as good as some of these guys that were winning.
He won 2 of them though, right? Like we voted for Drew twice for the Norris.
He should've
Because I remember I got shit for voting for Drew over Erik Karlsson one year. And I'm like, trust me, I've watched these guys play. Nothing against Erik Karlsson. This was Drew Doughty.
That's exactly how I would vote too. You
Yeah.
know, Karlsson was
Yeah.
good offensively, but I loved when he was on the ice too.
Now,
in his
to
D zone.
be fair, Mike Green also got screwed out of a Norris. And I think it was almost like because he got screwed out, then Erik Karlsson started getting more votes, and PK Subban started getting more votes because Mike lost out on that.
Was he the last-
I believe he was.
Yeah, because I was thinking that this year. I thought McCarthy he was on pace for 40 or
Yeah.
like that'd be insane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yes.
It's kind of petered off a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, on to the next one. So I'm assuming now it's going to be a vegetable, but what's the worst thing you've eaten? Mine is actually a fruit. Mine's papaya. I cannot
You don't like papaya?
stand papaya. It tastes like throw up to me, so I can't do it.
This is the first, like the worst thing ever.
The worst thing that you've ever eaten, yeah.
Oh boy.
Could be a dish, could be a single thing.
No, I cannot eat seafood.
Seafood?
So
Yeah.
I think it was octopus. Somebody gave it to me once, and I almost like. I mean, I'm still alive, so I didn't almost die. But like,
Right.
like, I did die. I did die inside that.
Yeah.
What comes to the rink every day is a remnant of what happened that day.
I love good octopus.
Do you really? Yeah. I actually have papaya and I have sea urchin, so seafood. It's so gross.
I can't go near it. I don't know. I'm just like, what's the appeal of having a fish?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's so funny. And the smell, too.
Yeah, the smell.
gross.
People are like, oh, it smells great. I'm like, no, it doesn't.
No, it
I'm like, it smells awful in here.
All right, so there's a theme here because this is also food related. And so besides pop or soda, what would be your late night snack when you're staying up to all hours of the night? Is there any food that ever makes its way in there or just liquid?
I ordered delivery at 3 a.m. last
Did you really?
Yeah.
What was open?
I live in Bethesda, like right in downtown, so Manny and Olga's was open. So
Olga.
got myself a nice meatball sub and jumbo slice of pizza. And
No way.
my dog was like, finally, you've ordered me dinner. And I'm like, nobody's talking to you, dude. So yeah, no. I'm like, dude, like no one woke you up. Like nobody asked like what you're thinking. Like she came to the door and everything.
Really?
I'm like, dude, like, are you gonna like tip the guy? Like, I don't.
Yeah, out of her allowance, right?
No, she like doesn't pay rent, anything. Like ridiculous, useless. No,
That's
I mean,
hilarious.
yeah, late night snack though. I mean, the meatball sub was like a one and done though.
Okay.
Like I'm like a definite like pizza and cheese fries person.
Okay, gotcha. Pizza, I like that.
But yeah, I do need a soda to.
To wash it all down.
I was gonna say, all that caffeine, I wouldn't be able to sleep after all that. But
So look, I need to know like actual numbers here. So you ordered that at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So like typically, what would be like a bedtime wake up routine?
So last night was like the 3 a.m. and then what I even do last night? Sometimes I'll just stare at the wall.
No.
Which yeah. Have like I always have something playing. I can't like there can't be no noise. So I've now a Sopranos kick. I was telling you about that the other
I
day.
just started Sopranos.
Yeah.
I haven't even watched it.
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
god.
Yeah.
You're in for a party. I love The Sopranos. So I have that playing. And then I stared at the wall for a little bit.
Yeah.
I sound like a crazy person, but it's okay. And
That is okay. Yeah.
and then my dog like she doesn't sleep in her bed. She sleeps on the couch with me, so she'll like readjust. So like she'll wake me up a few times, be like, ugh. And I'm like, all right, like.
Yeah.
Last night I think was like a 4:30 fall asleep,
Oh man.
and then my
Carl's waking up
alarm-
at 4:30.
Almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then my alarm goes off at 6:55.
Oh my goodness, and you function all day. That's impressive.
Yeah, sometimes I'll like catch myself like I don't know.
Really?
It's not healthy. I know
It's
it's
not.
not healthy.
It's not
but,
healthy.
like
It is not.
It's absolutely not healthy.
We'll go out, swinging.
Yeah, I guess so. You live into the fullest.
Exactly, you do.
Yeah.
And then when you burn out, you're like, at least I did rocking and rolling.
Yeah,
So,
that's impressive.
but yeah, and will I always wake up to the 6:55 alarm? No,
Yeah.
but I'll wake up before 10. That's
Before 10. It's
yeah.
set at 6:55.
Yes,
Okay.
and then it goes on and on. I'm like the person who sets like 15 alarms because
Yeah.
I know I won't hear the first one.
Yeah, I totally get that. I set, especially during the season, I would set at least 4 alarms every morning because I'm so scared to be late for anything.
Were you ever late for like a team meeting or a flight or anything?
I think I was late for a team meeting maybe once or twice, but that was because you get stuck doing sales, like you're talking to one of the reps or whatever, and you forget about it, or you're just running in. But part of my job was to find people, so I couldn't be late. Otherwise, it looked really bad, and I'd have to give everybody a warning, So there had to be.
You have to find yourself.
I had to find myself. Yes, never had to do it. Luckily. Okay, is there a hockey term you hate? Like I've said it before. I hate when I hear someone saying offsides. Like that play was offside.
It's offside.
It's offside to me, yeah. And so a lot of guys say it. Like it's a lot of times it's U.S. versus Canadian. And U.S. Players will say offsides, and I just like every time I hear it, I just want to throw up. It's not a term for me. So that would be
I
mine.
feel that. Man, a term I hate. I love like hockey lingo.
Yeah?
I use it. Yeah, I mean. But even also, like, after talking to players, like, I'll go home, like, the amount of for sure's or obviously that slip into my vocabulary
It's the worst.
is unhealthy.
Just don't start saying pucks in deep.
No,
I
pucks
hate
in,
it so
pucks
much.
in deep is one. This is a hard
Yeah,
question.
it makes me think a little bit. I like to get into
I've got a weird one like this while Sammy thinks about it.
Yeah.
I hate when people say a game is scoreless. No, the score is 0-0. It's not scoreless.
Yeah.
The score is 0-0.
Yeah.
This is a Pierre LeBrun thing that he's beaten into everybody who he's worked with over the years. I'm like, you're right. It's not scoreless.
Yeah.
The score is 0-0.
Yeah.
There are no goals in the game, but it is not scoreless.
Yeah.
No.
It's interesting. I can see how I'm being argued a little bit, but I definitely.
It's neurotic, but
yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of Type A people that will agree with you there.
it's yes.
I hate the term tag up.
What?
I don't know why.
I've never. What is it?
Like tag up, like where you
Oh,
tag up.
tag up, like
Yeah.
for offside.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't like that term.
No, I don't know. I'm like, let's just,
So would you rather them say? Just get on side.
Can I
on
curse
side,
on
get-
this podcast?
Yeah.
Get your shit together.
Get on side is about right.
Or get on side. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like some people like throw some terms out there to make it more complicated. Like, I don't sleep, so I'm like, let's keep it simple.
Yeah.
You know what does he say in The Office? KISS,
Yeah.
keep it simple, stupid.
Yes,
like,
exactly. Well, I mean, a lot of times too, you need to like, you need to explain the terms a little bit more, right? Like,
Yes.
What about we talked to Joe B? You know, sometimes it happens fast, and it's hard to get the words out that you want to get out, and it's like something that you've just said for years. But I'm all for spelling things out a little bit more, like especially in this other job that I'm doing. I'm like, I get all these acronyms thrown at me, and I'm just like, I can't talk to you guys because I don't know what you're saying. And so, you know, if you just say tag up, people are like, do you want to touch you? Like,
No.
Is that how? Like freeze tag? You know? Then you're
literally,
good?
I
Yeah.
asked that. I was playing pond hockey with like people who were so much better than me, and they were like, tag up, and I'm like, this rink is a foot tall, like wide. I'm like,
Yeah.
where? I'm like,
Yeah.
do I need to touch someone? They're
Yeah,
like, get
yeah,
out of here.
exactly.
They're like, why don't you just go take a shift off?
Yeah, that's.
I think that was like the second to last shift I saw the ice.
At some point when we have time to kill, like, there's got to be hockey lingo that players use that even, like, we don't even hear. There's got to be stuff that, like, that either during practice or system stuff that we're just like, this is useless to us.
Yeah, I'm sure there is, but to us it probably seems normal.
Right.
I wouldn't be able to pick it out. You'd have to sit in on a meeting and listen to everything and then think what would be weird.
Probably, but I watch like chalk talks and stuff, the whiteboard stuff, and I'm like, everything makes sense. This is almost makes it too simple.
Yeah.
For as complicated as hockey is,
Yeah.
when you're like, you gotta do this, you're gonna do this and that, I'm like, this sounds really easy,
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
but it's not.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's harder to do. But when you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, you gotta you gotta simplify, right? Like,
Yes.
There's no time to get out a full sentence of what you're trying to say out there, so it has to be simple. But a lot of simple minds. Like I have one of those simple minds, so I need it like that. Okay, so let me do a quick add up after double check on a couple things here. 15.
The whole score sheet here.
I
Yes,
love this,
yes.
honestly.
There is a method to my madness here. Perfect. Okay, you're getting 102 points, tied with George McPhee.
All right,
so
then.
that is
Oh,
really
okay.
nice company right there. You edged out a lot of people at 101, and actually also tied with Scott Burnside. So I think that's pretty solid. Nice work.
Thank you,
very-
cauliflower.
Very weird George McPhee tangent before we go here. So when you and I, when we talked to George, I was talking to the owner of the Syracuse Crunch the next day, and he's like, yeah, I was, George is one of my good buddies, and he said he was on this podcast with All-Star. I didn't realize it was with you, too. So all of a sudden, I'm talking to this guy, Howard Dolgan, who owns the Syracuse Crunch, about George after we had just done the podcast.
There you go.
Hockey's such a
Everything
small
connects,
town.
right?
It is
Yeah.
very
Connects.
small. We were
That's what
talking
it is.
about that the other day,
Yeah.
too.
Hockey's a small town. Welcome to Hockey, the small town. We are very happy to have
Thank you.
in hockey. We are happy to have you on All's Caps. Sammy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys. This was like a dream come true. Honestly.
awesome.
And yes, everybody, thanks very much for listening. Check out the Empire Media YouTube page for more of this, more of John Kimes' Commander's Report. And next time we talk, probably going to be talking about the trade deadline, what the Capitals did or didn't do, and then the stretch run. Stay tuned. We'll talk to you next week on All's Caps.